The leaders of Sweden and Turkey are set to meet on Monday in a last-ditch attempt to bridge a diplomatic impasse over Stockholm's stalled NATO membership drive, one which has been held up by Ankara. The high-stakes talks between the Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson and Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan are set to take place on the eve of an alliance summit in the Lithuanian capital, where NATO was aiming to announce Sweden's accession. Experts on the topic say that NATO fears that the Kremlin is trying to use its ties with Turkey to seed divisions among Western allies, especially as Erdogan has voiced repeated frustrations with what he calls Sweden's failure to keep its promises to deal with suspected Kurdish militants it is said to be, quote, harboring in Stockholm. The possibility of Ukraine's admittance to NATO is also expected to be high on the summit agenda, among other issues. And joining me now in studio to discuss this in more depth is Dr. Haya Eitan Cohen-Yana Rosak, a Turkey expert at the Jerusalem Institute for Strategy and Security. Firstly, thank you very much for taking the time to be here this morning.
Sure.
The US President Joe Biden is expected to meet with his Turkish counterpart on the sidelines of the NATO summit. Will he likely try and influence Erdogan to approve Sweden's bid, even though Biden is not doing the same for Ukraine? Is there a difference?
Yes, there is a difference. At the end of the day, Ukraine is a belligerent state vis-à-vis Russia, and Sweden is feeling threatened by Russia. So we already witnessed that the Finnish accession process was already finalized. So we all know that the Swedish accession process is not finalized because of the Quran burning rituals, let me say, in Stockholm. And the Turkish president is making it very clear that this is a red line for him. He is expecting that this act would be described as a hate crime in Sweden. And apart from that, we should also not forget that Sweden is a home for the PKK supporters and also the Fethullah Gülen movement people. Turkey considers both of the entities as terrorist organizations, and they want them to be extradited into Turkey. And Turks do not really believe in freedom of speech when it comes to Kurdish national aspirations or burning of the Quran. They want these two acts to be declared as outlawed. And when they are seeing that their Swedish counterparts are not taking any action in this regard, so they are trying to show also to their own constituency at home that they are doing their best to punish the Swedish government. And that is why here Joe Biden is pressuring Turkish government, but he also satisfied the Turkish demands. We should remember that because of the Turkish equipment of S-400s from Russia, United States imposed on Turkey some military sanctions, and because of that, the US Congress still did not approve not only the F-35s, the Joint Strike Fighter, but also they did not even approve the F-16 deal. The Turks really need this F-16 deal to balance with Greece, because at the end the Greek army will be stronger in the Aegean sky. So it's a red line for them. So everything is very much connected to everything. In 2 months, we will also see the end of the grain deal in Russia. The Russians are also threatening also Ukrainians and also the Turks that they are not going to renew the agreement. I assume that also Sweden's accession process is very much related to that.
So let's touch exactly on that, because Erdogan told Biden on Sunday that, quote, Sweden had taken some steps in the right direction, but still has a long way to go. So the big question is, what is Erdogan's end game here, and where exactly do his allegiances lie? We can't forget that it's the second most powerful army in the alliance next to the US. But as you mentioned, weaponry that's being sent to Turkey from Russia, as well as their close alliance with Iran. Where does Turkey lie, and what is Erdogan's game?
Well, the Turks have to get something concrete so that they can also, again, tell to their constituency that yes, we approved Sweden's candidacy, membership to the NATO, but at last we received something very concrete, and it's in our hand. For instance, the F-16s, right, or any other end of sanctions like that the United States is imposing on the Turkish defense industry. These are very crucial subjects for the Turkish government. So the Turks, they did their best to maintain good relations both with Russia and Ukraine while selling UAVs, Bayraktar UAVs to Ukraine so that the Ukrainians could kill more Russians. The Turks also, did not impose any sanctions on the Russians despite being a NATO member. So the Turks are trying to dance in two different weddings at the same time in order to maximize their interests. And let's put this on the table. If there will be a prisoner exchange deal or grain deal or any kind of ceasefire deal, this will be most likely in Turkey, and Turks would like to maintain that role of being the broker between the two countries.
It very much seems like Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has got a good hand of poker. What we're going to be finding out, at least in the coming days with the NATO summit, is what hand he chooses to play and to whom.
He is a great player.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here and for your analysis this morning.